Yo, Broncos Country, you're not going to believe what just happened with the Denver Broncos. While the entire AFC is running scared, ESPN analysts, content creators, and even rival radio shows are saying the same thing. Please, don't let us have to face Denver in the playoffs. That's right, folks. Teams that used to mock us are now shaking in their boots. And there's a very specific reason for this widespread panic taking over the conference. I've been a diehard Broncos fan for decades, and what I'm about to reveal here will completely change how you see this season. Because there's a detail involving this historic defense that could transform the Broncos back into Super Bowl champions. Stick with me until the end because the secret I discovered will blow your mind. What an incredible time to be alive, my friends. If someone had told me 2 years ago that in November 2024 we'd be watching AFC teams literally begging not to face the Denver Broncos in the playoffs, I would have thought they were delirious in the mile-high thin air. But here we are, with a 9-2 record, leading the AFC West and making the Kansas City Chiefs look in the rearview mirror with that uncomfortable feeling of someone who knows the throne is slipping away. The 2024 Denver Broncos aren't just good, folks. This team is a systematic destruction machine that's redefining what it means to dominate on both sides of the ball. When you look at the numbers, it's clear why nobody wants anything to do with us. Our defense is on a historic pace to break the NFL sack record. Bo Nix is the least sacked quarterback in the entire league among starters, and we've managed 8 consecutive wins against quality opponents. Let me be crystal clear here. We're not talking about easy wins against weak teams. We went to Philadelphia, the Super Bowl champions, played at their place on short rest, and showed who's boss. We faced the Kansas City Chiefs coming off a bye week, where Andy Reid is supposedly unbeatable, and we scored 33 points in 1 quarter. We played against the best offense in football, the Dallas Cowboys, with Dak Prescott in MVP mode, and even with Pat Surtain getting injured at halftime, our defense held strong and the offense exploded for another 33 points in 1 quarter. But what's really scaring the AFC isn't just the wins, it's the way we're winning. It's the irrational confidence overflowing from every player. It's seeing Nick Bonito with 5 sacks on the season, becoming a constant threat that opposing quarterbacks see in nightmares. It's watching Bo Nix evolve week after week, protected by an offensive line that simply won't let anyone touch him. According to league insiders who closely follow behind-the-scenes developments, teams that lose to the Denver Broncos typically lose their next game at a completely disproportionate rate. Why? Because our defense literally sucks the life force out of opponents. They leave the field against us with that "what the hell do we do now" expression, and they simply can't recover psychologically. The defensive pressure we're exerting is absurd. We're averaging 4.7 sacks per game, folks. That means we only need to maintain an average of 4 sacks in the remaining games to break the NFL's all-time record. And when you look at our remaining schedule, it gets even better. Los Angeles Chargers, 4th most sacked team in the league, Raiders, 6th, Jacksonville Jaguars, 10th, and Washington Commanders, among the top 15. It's practically an all-you-can-eat buffet for our defensive line. And here's the detail that few are talking about, but is absolutely crucial. We're doing all this with one hand tied behind our backs. Pat Surtain, the best defensive back on the planet, was out 2 weeks with a pectoral injury. Alex Singleton, our defensive captain and field leader, was also out. And even so, even without these 2 fundamental pieces, we continued dominating. When Surtain and Singleton return after the bye week, folks, this defense will go to a completely different level. We're talking about adding the probable defensive player of the year back to the lineup, along with the defensive brain that organizes the entire second level. The entire AFC should be praying these guys take a little longer to come back because, when they do, it's going to be a massacre. On the other side of the ball, while our defense is terrorizing opposing quarterbacks, we have an equally impressive situation happening Bo Nix, our rookie quarterback, is currently the least sacked QB among all starters in the NFL who have played every game. Let that sink in for a second. A freshman is more protected than Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and all the other established quarterbacks in the league. How is this possible? 3 words: dominant offensive line. Mike McGlinchey and Garrett Bowles, our tackles, both with over 400 consecutive snaps without allowing a single sack. This isn't normal, folks. This is excellence at the highest level. And in the middle of this human wall, we have Quinn Miners being an absolute monster who's gaining national recognition. And here's a bombshell for you. This offensive line that's already stellar is going to get even better. Ben Powers was having a fantastic start to the season before getting injured, and he should be back in December. Imagine this already dominant line adding back a Pro Bowl guard. Bo Nix is going to have so much time in the pocket, he'll be able to have a snack before throwing the ball. Bo Nix's evolution deserves a chapter of its own. ESPN analysts spent entire weeks questioning his early performance, pointing out problems with footwork, doubts about his arm, all that typical narrative about rookies. But here's the reality. Bo is improving every week in a way that few quarterbacks can. He's reading defenses, making pre-snap adjustments, and, most importantly, keeping the ball away from the wrong hands while our defense does the heavy lifting. Against the Kansas City Chiefs in the last game before the bye week, Bo wasn't statistically perfect. He didn't throw any touchdown passes. But you know what he did? He made clutch plays when it mattered. He kept drives alive. He didn't commit turnovers that could have flipped the game. And in the end, he left the field with a 22-19 win over the back-to-back Super Bowl champions at their place, taking the division lead. But Bo Nix isn't alone on this journey. Courtland Sutton continues being our reliable number 1 receiver, making contested catches and showing veteran leadership. Troy Franklin is emerging as a real threat, especially in crucial moments. Pat Bryant? This guy came out of nowhere to become our most reliable WR3, with that 48-yard reception against the Chiefs that nearly knocked his head off when he hit the turf, but came back into the game like nothing happened. This is Broncos Country, folks. This is heart and grit. In the backfield, even with J.K. Dobbins on injured reserve with a foot injury, R.J. Harvey has taken the reins with growing confidence. Jaleel McLaughlin continues being that explosive X-factor who can turn any carry into a touchdown. Tyler Beatty offers versatility in the passing game. It's a deep running back room that can attack defenses in multiple ways. And on special teams, Will Lutz is absolutely on fire, even winning AFC Special Teams Player of the Week after that dominant performance against the Chiefs. Riley Dixon continues being one of the most consistent punters in the league, flipping field position and pinning opponents inside their own 20-yard line. Marvin Mims Jr., selected for the Pro Bowl games as a return specialist, is a constant danger that keeps opposing coordinators up at night worrying. Here's where things get really interesting, my friends. It's not just me saying this. It's not just wishful thinking from a fanatic fan. The evidence is everywhere, coming from completely neutral or even rival sources. Aqib Talib, Broncos legend, and now analyst on national programs with his No Lie Zone podcast, constantly repeats this. Nobody wants to face the Denver Broncos in the playoffs. And when he says this on national programs, you know what the reaction is? Silence. Nobody disagrees because everybody knows it's true. Our defense is absolutely terrifying. But it gets better. The Patriots radio show, one of their most popular programs, asked a question that 10 years ago would have seemed ridiculous, 5 years ago would still be absurd. Who would the Patriots rather play, Kansas City Chiefs or Denver Broncos? And the answer was unanimous. We'd rather play Kansas City at home than have to go to Denver. Let me repeat that. The Patriots radio is saying they'd rather face Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs than come play against us at Mile High. A Colts content creator I know, an unconditional fan of his team, sent me a message saying, I hope we don't have to play you guys until the division game, because if we play you again, you win. This is a guy who bleeds Colts blue and white, openly admitting he's afraid of what the Denver Broncos can do to his team. Cam Scatterbu, a player who suffered a season-ending injury and is now a popular Twitch streamer, was asked, "If you had to bet all your savings on one team to win the Super Bowl, which would it be?" His answer without hesitation, "Denver Broncos. Bet all your savings on the Broncos to win the Super Bowl, because it's going to happen." A guy who has no connection to our team would bet everything on us. And there's more. The Washington Commanders, who we'll face right after the bye week, are in a desperate situation. They need something to have hope for the coming seasons, and there are rumors their starting quarterback might return against us. You know what the unanimous reaction from their fan base is. Please don't put our starting QB against that Denver Broncos defense. Think about that for a second. If Bo Nix were injured, we'd be begging for him to come back as quickly as possible, because we want to see him on the field. We want to have hope. But Commanders fans are unanimously pleading to keep their quarterback away from us. They'd rather continue without hope than risk seeing their franchise QB destroyed by Nick Bonitto, Zach Allen, Jonathan Cooper, and the rest of our hellish pass rush. This isn't normal, folks. NFL teams don't usually have this much fear of a specific opponent. But here we are, making offensive coordinators lose sleep, making opposing quarterbacks double-check that their life insurance is up to date before taking the field against us. There's an X factor in this whole equation that can't be ignored: Sean Payton. This man started the season saying this was one of 6 or 7 teams he'd coached in his entire Hall of Fame career that had what it takes to win a Super Bowl. People laughed at him. Analysts mocked him. They said he was crazy, that he was creating unrealistic expectations for a team coming off horrible years. Who's laughing now? Sean Payton is, and that irrational confidence of his has overflowed into every player on the roster. Want a perfect example? Baron Browning posted on his Instagram during the bye week a photo humiliating Travis Kelce with the caption, "Tell Taylor Swift to put me in a song right now." That's the level of swag this team has. They're not afraid of the Kansas City Chiefs. They're already trolling the Chiefs on social media. They know that dynasty is over and that the AFC West title is ours. This mentality comes directly from Sean Payton, who has built a culture where believing in yourself isn't optional, it's mandatory. Let's talk concrete statistics that show why this confidence is justified. Broncos defense 2024, 4.7 sacks per game, on pace to break NFL all-time record. 18, 3 points allowed per game, third best in the league. Nick Bonitto, 9.5 sacks, 5th in the NFL. Zach Allen, 6.0 sacks in 6 consecutive games with at least 0.5 sack. Jonathan Cooper, 7. 5 sacks, 5th in the league. Patrick Surtain, 2. Likely Defensive Player of the Year, despite missing 2 weeks. Offense, Bo Nix, least sacked QB among starters who have played every game. Mike McGlinchey, 400-plus consecutive snaps without allowing a sack. Garrett Bolles, 400-plus consecutive snaps without allowing a sack, 425 points scored, 25.0 per game, 10th in the NFL. 8 consecutive wins. These numbers don't lie, folks. When you combine the league's third-ranked defense in points allowed with an offense that's consistently putting 25-plus points on the scoreboard, you have the recipe for a championship team. So what's the secret the Broncos activated that's making the entire AFC tremble? It's a lethal combination of factors that rarely happen simultaneously. Historic defense, a defensive unit that's on pace to break NFL records while playing with key pieces injured. Impeccable protection, an offensive line giving the rookie QB all the time in the world, something teams normally take years to build. Winning mentality, an irrational confidence that starts with the head coach and permeates every player in the locker room. Perfect timing, all this happening precisely when the dynasty Kansas City Chiefs are showing real vulnerabilities for the first time in years. Roster depth. Players like Pat Bryant, Jaquan McMillian, Jonah Ellis, emerging and contributing in crucial moments. The bye week came at the perfect time. Certain to and Alex Singleton should return. Our already dominant offensive line will get even better with Ben Powers' return, and Bo Nix had extra time to study film and refine technical details. We're literally entering the final stretch of the season healthier and more prepared than we were 3 weeks ago. Check out what we have ahead in the rest of the regular season. Washington Commanders, home. Team in rebuilding that's terrified to put their starting QB on the field against us, Los Angeles Chargers, home. Fourth most sacked team in the league, and got even worse after losing their starting left tackle, Las Vegas Raiders, away. Sixth most sacked team in the league, in total crisis, Jacksonville Jaguars, home. 10th most sacked team, already eliminated from playoff contention. This isn't arrogance, folks. It's cold, calculated analysis. These teams are exactly where our dominant defense can feast, and each additional win not only solidifies our playoff position, but also plants more seeds of doubt in the minds of potential January opponents. Here's my question for you in the comments. If the playoffs started today and the Broncos had the first-round bye, which opponent would you want to face in the second round? Pittsburgh Steelers, Houston Texans, Baltimore Ravens, and more. Importantly, which of these teams do you think would be confident playing against us at Mile High in January? Personally, the only AFC team that makes me a bit apprehensive is the Buffalo Bills because of what happened last year. But even so, this is a very different Bills team. They're not as good as they were, and our defense has improved exponentially. Playing them at home with 76,225 fanatic fans screaming at Mile High, 280 feet above sea level, I love our chances. The rest of the AFC? Bring them all. Bring the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson. Bring the Houston Texans and their supposedly elite defense. Bring whoever you want. This Denver Broncos defense is ready for anyone, and they know it. That's why they're scared. That's why nobody wants anything to do with us in the playoffs. There's a detail that can't be underestimated. Playing in Denver in January is completely different from playing here in September or October. The altitude is already a nightmare for visiting teams under normal conditions. Now add freezing temperatures, potential snow, cutting wind coming down from the Rocky Mountains, and a crazed fan base that's waited almost a decade to see playoff football return. National analysts love to downplay home field advantage, but ask anyone who's played at Empower Field at Mile High in a playoff game. They'll tell you nightmare stories about not being able to breathe properly, about plays that worked perfectly in practice but falling apart in the altitude, about that deafening noise that makes communication practically impossible. And we're not just talking theory here. In 2015, when we won the Super Bowl, our home was an absolute fortress. Teams simply couldn't function here. And that defense, it was special. But you know what? The 2024 defense is statistically better in several aspects, and it's still improving. I know it's a bold statement, but it needs to be said. The Kansas City Chiefs dynasty is coming to an end, and the Denver Broncos are going to be the team that pushes them off the throne. For the first time in years, the Chiefs look vulnerable. Patrick Mahomes is still Patrick Mahomes, but even he's making more mistakes. Travis Kelce is visibly slower. Their defense, which used to be rock solid, is allowing more points. And most importantly, they no longer have that aura of invincibility. Teams don't take the field against them automatically defeated psychologically. We proved that by beating them 22-19 at their place. And we could easily have won that earlier game too, if not for some bad ball bounces. The AFC West was Chiefs' territory for years, not anymore. It's our division now. And when we meet again in the playoffs, because you know we're going to meet, it will be on our terms on our field, with our defense completely healthy and our fan base going crazy. I'd love to see that characteristic Mahomes confidence when he's being chased by Benito, Cooper, and Allen in below-zero temperatures in January. The secret the Denver Broncos activated isn't really a secret, folks. It's a combination of hard work, smart recruiting, elite coaching, and perfect timing. It's having players who completely buy into the system, who believe in each other, who know they can beat anyone on any given day. But the real secret, what really makes the difference, is this. This team believes. They believe they're going to win the Super Bowl. They don't hope, they don't wish, they believe. And that belief is spreading like wildfire. You see it in their eyes, you see it in their body language. You see it in the way they celebrate wins, not as surprises, but as confirmations of what they already knew would happen. The AFC is trembling because they look at the Denver Broncos and see a completely different team from what they've seen in the last decade. They don't see a team in rebuilding. They don't see a team in process. They see a legitimate Super Bowl contender with a defense that can carry alone in playoff games, with an increasingly better offense, with elite coaching, with an impossible-to-replicate home field advantage. So yes, they should be scared. They should be hoping they don't have to come to Denver in January, because when they come, and you know they'll eventually have to come, they'll discover that the mile-high miracle wasn't a fluke. They'll discover that the Broncos are back, baby. And this time, we're not here just to participate. We're here to conquer. Now tell me in the comments, which AFC team do you most want to see the Broncos destroy in the playoffs? And if you agree this is the year of the comeback, subscribe to the channel, drop that like, and share with every Broncos Country fan you know. Because this journey is just beginning, and you're going to want to be here for every second of it. Go Broncos!